we're going to do a game together, and it'll get you guys standing up. And I think games are just fun, period. So I want you to have. We're going to talk about what's in your hands. So I want you to kind of know, where is my backpack right now, or my purse, or whatever. Okay, are you ready for this? Okay, I don't know if you've ever headed out of the door of your apartment. I've never done this. And I was looking for my cell phone, and it was right in my hand. I've never done that, but I don't know if you've ever done that. Or your keys, oh my gosh, where are my keys? Where are my keys? I have to get on the tram right now. Oh, they're in my pocket. I've never done that. But, I know some people struggle with something that's right there, but you kind of forget that it's there. So when you get it, when I say what it is, you got 10 seconds. I want you to hold it up really high. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, a pen. A pen to write. Boom, boom. This side won. I think this was the fastest, okay? All right, ready? It's not a competition. Everyone's a winner, but, number 2, you ready? 3, 2, 1, tissues. Taschentücher. 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 Kind of even, maybe this side. Okay, this one's a little different. You're actually going to stand up. Okay, ready? What do you have in your hand? Do you, 3, 2, 1, you speak 3 languages or more? You speak 3 languages or more. Whoa, good job, guys. I think this side's got it. This side's got it. Sit down, next one. In the past year and a half, 2 years, 3, 2, 1, you took a pretty big risk or did something very new in the past 2 years. Did something pretty new, took a risk. Good job. Good job. Maybe a little even. All right, clap hands. Last one. Are you the kind of person, you're not that shy, you could speak in front of 20 people and you're okay with that? I can speak in front of 20 people. Yeah. Woo! Oh man, I think maybe a little on this side, but good job, guys. All right, okay. Just a short question for Teresa. I'm feeling a little dark. Yeah. But I want you to be able to see the screen too. All right. God has made you unique and you're one of a kind. Why is this important? We are here on earth for a purpose. So this morning you're sitting here in Frankfurt for a huge purpose. Your purpose is the conference. But God has an even bigger purpose for you on earth. And maybe it's gotten lost. Maybe it's something you forgot that you had available. But I want to remind you of something like the cell phone in your hand, or the keys, or the Taschentücher, your tissues. You already have it, but maybe you just need to see that it's there. God made you unique for his purpose. And Ephesians 2:10 is a classic verse. And it says, we are his workmanship. Another translation says, we are his masterpiece. I live in Amsterdam. We have the Rijksmuseum. We have the Van Gogh Museum, Van Gogh, that's how you say it, Van Gogh. The Van Gogh Museum with some beautiful, beautiful artwork. You are a piece of art. And he says, you're created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in him. God is inviting you into his grand and bigger story. The uniqueness of how God created you and me, it's not for a selfie photo. It's not a, hey, I'm unique, I'm unique so I can make more money. I'm different so I can have a better, happier life. I want to stand out from the crowd. That's why I'm unique. No, I'm unique. Well, personally, I do like to follow unique stories. I don't know if you have favorite YouTubers and you watch their lives. And I got into the Clarkson's Farm. Are there any Clarkson's Farm fan? I really like Clarkson's Farm. I was like, I'm not going to watch a thing about a farm. But it was in the number in the top 10 in the Netherlands. And I'm like, oh, I guess it's a big thing in the Netherlands. I better check it out. So I like to see documentaries about people's lives and their stories and their idiosyncrasies. But it's not just so my life can be one of those stories too, hey, is this Instagrammable? Is this a good TikTok moment? I want to put this on for everybody. God wants to use you now where you live, work, study, and play. God wants to use you now, not just for the future, not just what's in your hand for later, where you live, where you work, where you study and where you play, there's no accident. What God is doing through history, he's writing a story. And we get to be a part of that. Where am I in this story? I want to be in that story. We heard some of that last night from Yasin. You have an it factor. I don't know if you've heard that term. You have like this kind of special sauce. You have this it factor. There's something unique about you. When I went to Florida, to the U.S. over Christmas, I went to Chick-fil-A a lot of times. Some people, Chick-fil-A has a certain sauce, so some people actually buy a bottle of the sauce that they can take home with them because they like the sauce from a place that's like a burger place, but for chicken. They like to take the sauce so they can use it all the time. You have a special magic sauce. You are like this ingredient that God says, I'm going to put you in your neighborhood, and you're like this special ingredient. This neighborhood needs to know Jesus. I'm going to put you in the class, and the person sitting beside you in the class that you guys sort of sat in the same place every day now, there's a reason why you're the special it factor in that class. It's a reason. And if you think of history and life as a book, God is writing a book, and it's a plan. Actually, he's had the plan for a long time. And I want to tell you where you are in that book, okay? Are you ready? Think of a book, pretty big, history book, life into eternity from the Garden of Eden and before. Where are you in that book? You're one page. You are not the book. The book is not about Martha. The book is not about you. You are one page in one chapter in a book that's not about you. Think about that. So much of life revolves around me. What do I want? What do I want for breakfast? What will I do today? Who texted me? Who didn't text me? How can I study? How can I work better? What's my salary going to, my, me? And God says, this is my book, and it's not your story. You get to be, but you're an important page. Your page belongs in that chapter, and that chapter belongs in the book. But I'm writing the book, God says, and the book's about me. So let's look at 4 things that are kind of special about you that God has put in your hands. Okay, 4 things. Number 1, you have common traits. Common traits with your family, with the culture. These are like your unchangeables. I am Caucasian. You would say my hair is blondish. My eyes are hazel green. My height is like 1 meter, I forget. I'm 5'11". I cannot change that. I can change the hair color, by the way, but I didn't get a choice about that. And there's things about your ethnicity, you're like, I wish I didn't have this or that. It's unchangeable. My upbringing, did you grow up with your grandparents, with one parent, with 2 parents? Were your parents nice? Were they mean? You didn't get to change that. But God's not surprised. What country did we talked about last night? Yasin said, when people ask the question, where are you from? And then it gets complicated. But the answer to that and the origin story of that, you didn't get to create that. You were like, I didn't choose that I grew up in Florida. I just happened to grow up in Florida. My parents chose that for me. Where are you from? But these are unique about you, and it's actually a cool factor about you. It's no accident. Number 2, your character and personality. Well, you can adjust your character. You can decide to be an honest person or a person of integrity. But I tend to be very direct and straightforward. My mother was not like that. And when I moved to Germany, and she realized that people in Germany are sehr direkt. They're very direct. And she said, oh, now I know why God made you like that. Isn't that interesting? She said, oh, it's so good for you because I know why you need that because God knew you were moving to Germany and you would need that. The Dutch are like that too, by the way. Some of you don't just try to be merciful. You're actually, you feel people's pain. I don't feel people's pain. I can cry with people, but there's people that are like, I walk in the room and I sense the vibe. I go, I don't sense the vibe. You were born with a certain sensitivity and compassion to people, and that's from the Lord. You're a good listener, not because you try to. People just tend to come up to you. People sit by you in the plane. People sit by you in class, and they're starting to tell you that they had a breakup. And you're like, okay, I didn't know they were going to tell me their life story. Some of you have that, and that is your it factor. That's your special sauce. Some of you are good at telling a story, or you're funny. You're very adaptable. Maybe it's because you were a third culture kid, or somebody told me last night, I moved every 2 years, you know. So you got to learn this adaptability. Number 3, competencies and crafts. Your abilities, what you're good at. Competencies and crafts. Some of you are just really smart in math. You would say, no, I have to work at it, and I get that. Or you're good at IT stuff and computer programming. You would say, no, Martha, it's work. And I believe you, or art. But still, you're like, some of us will never be good at art. You know what I mean? Like, God is giving you this ability. Or your athletics. And I find with the people who are good at athletics, they never do one sport. They're like, no, this is my sport. But I'm like, what else? Well, I actually ski too. Oh, you ski too. And actually, you know, and I play paddle. Oh, you play paddle. And then it's like, you know, they tend to be good at several sports. I speak 4 languages. It was not planned. But I grew up with a lot of Cubans and Puerto Ricans and Hispanics in my city, in my school in Florida. I have a friend I want to introduce, Jonathan, who has a real gift for languages, and I want to have him say what he did with it, but I need a microphone.
Maybe this one?
Yeah. Tell us about growing up.
I grew up in the middle of nowhere. I think there are more people in this room than in the town where I grew up. When I was a teenager, I don't think I'd met anyone who spoke other languages or other cultures. But all of a sudden, there were some factories, and they started recruiting Spanish-speaking people to come, and they flooded in, and no one could talk to each other. It was before we had Google Translate. Actually, I hadn't even heard of the internet at that point. And God bless. Another friend that was 15, and I was 15, we said, let's learn Spanish. We started studying as fast as we could, started inviting people to church, and God blessed. People started coming, and I think the principle here is that God often chooses the least likely people to use so that he will get the glory. And people just started coming. I was immersed in my high school and university years in the Hispanic community. God gave us a love for them. Planted the first Hispanic church in the state. And when we were teenagers, we reached a Cuban teenager who's now leading it, now 35 years later. And if you think that God can't use you, then he may surprise you.
How many languages are you comfortable in right now?
I don't think that I'm that good at it. I just love it. I study a little bit every day, just reviewing languages. I guess Spanish and Portuguese, and of course English is what I'm most comfortable with. But Italian and French I'm pretty comfortable in as well. I enjoy.
Nepalese?
No, that's not it.
Can you put it right there? Yeah. All right. Thank you, Jonathan. I am amazed by that story because he was 15 years old and he saw a need. He didn't know he was good at it. He actually is very good at languages, but he said, I'm going to pursue something because there's a need. So sometimes you're like, I don't have to be good at it, but somebody needs to help reach these people. And they started the first church in the state of Mississippi that was Spanish speaking as teenagers. Hello. God sees more potential in you guys than you see in yourself. I love that story of Mimi last night too. I have a friend, Alex, who's on staff with our ministry connection in Braunschweig. And when he came, he was from the East. So he's raised in an atheist family, east of Germany. And he met Christians in Colombia. He was an exchange student in Colombia, South America. Met Christians there, gave his life to Christ. It was like a baby believer. And I would say he wasn't like the type that was like the most leader, super confident kind of guy. But God grew him. And he became part of our ministry on staff, our church plant, and he leads that ministry now. And he could have had an engineering job. He actually had an engineering job. And he was like, Martha, I know I love Connection, but I studied engineering, you know. And so the expectations are of my family, I will use that degree. And he started it, and he goes, you know what? I really love to reach the students that study engineering. And he realized that God really wanted him to be in full-time ministry, working to reach the students at the TU Braunschweig. TU means Technical University. So he's reaching mostly engineers with his degree. So how could God be asking you to leverage or use your gift, what's already in your hand? What the young lady said today, Laura, you are unique because God is using three things: your unchangeable common traits, culture, your character and personality, your competencies, what you're good at, and your crafts, and number 4, your challenges. This is the one we don't want, usually. I do not want challenges to help me be used by God. I have a niece and a nephew that were raised partly in foster care, and then my brother adopted them. Because they were raised in foster care, they're very observant to little things happening around them. God can use that. Maybe you were raised poor, you've learned to stretch your euro. Maybe you felt a little left out. When in high school, we had lunch in my high school. We would eat lunch together. And there were, just so you know the size of my high school, my graduating class. So when I graduated high school, there were 680 of us. So the school was a few thousand, okay? So this huge cafeteria. And the table I sat at was the not popular table. I was not at the popular table. You would not think Martha will go to foreign countries and introduce herself to people and start something on campuses. You would not think that about me. I did feel left out, and I learned to include others. I was raised with a mentally handicapped brother, so I was also very aware who includes my brother, who's different than other people. I had some health struggles. I planned on getting married. I actually had a really cool family, and I was like, I want to do this, what I grew up with. And, one day, I might be 30, but I will get married and I will have kids. That was not happening for me. And I had a surgery that meant that I could not have children. And God used 2 things to help me get released. These are sad things. My mentally handicapped brother passed away in his 20s. He had a brain hemorrhage, Gehirnblutung in German. So he had a brain hemorrhage all of a sudden. So I woke up. My mother wakes me up. We're going to the hospital. At 9 the next morning, he passed away. That was my mentally handicapped brother. I have another brother, like I said, then he's a pastor, and he's the one that adopted the kids. And then I had a hysterectomy. So hysterectomy means that you are a single woman, and you're going to get married this one day, you think, and then you realize you may get married, you may not get married, but you will not have your own babies. And I hadn't planned for that. That was, at the time, pretty traumatic. So I'm saying it without emotion, but you can imagine that was pretty emotional. But with the shot, God used it, and he said, I'm writing a bigger story. It's not about you. It's not about having babies. It's not about what country you live in. It's not about how much you earn in your job. It's all about my glory. Are you all about God's glory? Are you all about whatever it takes? I'm going to go to heaven one day, and I'm not going to be ashamed to look away and go, yeah, I kind of followed your will, but I missed a whole thing. God says, you have an eternal impact with your life. Do you want to make waves for Jesus, with Jesus? Do you want to be a page that does bring him glory, that fits so beautifully in that book? When you think of volumes or series, and you read these series, what if one page was like, I have no idea what's happening in that story. It is not. Why did the author put that? I want to make sense in the story that God is writing. The bigger story. 2 Corinthians 12, 9 through 10. Paul the apostle talked about these challenges. He said, but my grace is sufficient for you. What does that mean? God says, I am enough. I am enough. I will not rip you off. You're not missing anything. I am not going to mess your life up. My power is made perfect in weakness. You have power. You have energy. I don't mean like in a new age thing, but you have influence because of your challenges. You would not have without your challenges. I will boast. I'm going to brag. I'm going to brag about my challenges because I'm glad that I have weaknesses. Why? So the power of Christ can rest on me. The sake of Christ, I am content. I am boasting with weaknesses, insults, hardships, persecutions, calamities. No, I am not boasting about calamities and insults and persecutions. I do not wish some of the world's situations on people. Yay, I get to be in a war zone. Yay, I get to be in protests and people are getting killed. No, I do not wish that on them. But for some reason, God said, I can't speak for people in other nations, but I can speak for my challenges. When I am weak, God says, you are strong. I mean, I could tell you stories that I would be in a situation in Germany, in the Netherlands, whatever. I go, if you were married, you would not be here. If you had kids, you would not be here. You'd be at home with the kids. And that would be amazing, and I would love it. And I would be home rocking my babies to sleep. But God says, just remember, that would be beautiful. You'd be rocking your baby to sleep. You would not be out with those students that are 21 years old right now. I'm like, oh, crap, I don't want to miss that. God, give me these little reminders. Remember where you'd be. It would be beautiful. It would be your story. This isn't your story. That's why you get to go to Olaf's birthday party. You see? So God will remind me of that. He is enough. All right. We looked at 4 areas. He wants to use you now where you live, work, study, and play. So now why? Why are you here on this earth? Matthew 28:18 through 20. Jesus said, go. I'm just going to breeze through. Go, all authority has been given to me, Jesus says, and I'm giving that authority to you to make disciples of all nations. So you may not go to every nation, but you can pray for nations. You can witness to people from different nations. You can disciple people that will go to different nations. Make disciples of all nations. And 2 Timothy 2:2, why are we on earth? To make disciples. And 2 Timothy 2:2, how do I do it? 4 generations. Paul said, the things you learn, Paul says, Timothy, the things you learn from me, pass on to faithful men and women who will be able to teach others also. Paul, Timothy, faithful men, others also. He wants you to pass on to other generations. It doesn't really matter what your official job is. I taught high school in Florida. That was my official job, but I was able to witness to people there because my real ministry is I'm on earth to make disciples. My dad used to say, sarcastically, what's the biggest thing you've asked God to do today? Oh, God, bless the food. Is that the biggest thing you've asked God to do today? Oh, I hope I do well on my exam. I hope, yeah, I mean, that's a good prayer. I hope I get a boyfriend. Is that the biggest thing you've asked God to do today? What about, God, could you use me in Mozambique? God, there's protests in Iran. Help me reach some Iranians that I know in Amsterdam that they could influence the people there. That I'm not just praying for a country, that I know people that are Iranian in my city that are my neighbors. Lord, help me make a difference in other countries. I say, God, give me influential people in Amsterdam. Because I want to be with, hotshots? No. Because I know if you'll let me reach influential people in Amsterdam, they will reach their people. They will reach the other people. Okay, I want to ask big. Your uniqueness, what's in your hand, it can open doors for evangelism and discipling others for eternity. We're talking about when I go to heaven, who am I going to bring with me, right? Okay, so let's check out 3 real-life examples in the Bible, people that were unique and who God greatly used. 3 people who used what God had put in their hand. First story, real story, Moses. Moses was a baby. He was under traumatic circumstances. He was a part of a slave race. There were hundreds of thousands of people that had grown they got more and more of them in the Egyptian empire. So when you think of pyramids and pharaohs and all of that, you have to understand this was like this world that was a huge empire. And he gets adopted as a prince, which sounds like a fun story, but you have to understand he's pulled out of his home as a baby, never gets to see his family again, lives in privilege and wealth and good training and learns leadership, but he knows, I'm adopted. I'm not like them. I feel that, But God uses, and also maybe an imposter syndrome because he finds out your generation, all the boys your age, they were all killed. Like everyone that's your age that would be celebrating birthdays with you, if you were with your Jewish people, they were all slaughtered and killed. So what's in his hand? Exodus 4, he killed somebody. He leaves Egypt. He goes to another place, marries, has kids, has a father-in-law. He's taking care of sheep. And he has something. And the Lord says to him, you need to go back there. And he says, Exodus 4, 1 through 5, then Moses answered, but behold, they will not believe me or listen to my voice, for they will say, the Lord did not appear to you. I can't go to these people that I was not raised with. I have a message from God for you. And he's like, these people will not listen to me. They're not going to believe me. The Lord said to him, what is that in your hand? And he's like, oh, well, I am a shepherd. I have like this stick, this staff that I use, it's a staff. And he said, throw it on the ground. So, okay, throws it on the ground and it becomes a snake. Whoa, Moses is scared, okay? And then he says, put out your hand, catch it by the tail. So, he catches it by the tail and it becomes a staff again. And he's basically saying, I want you to use this. This will be like a proof that when you go to them, you'll show them this miracle and they'll go, whoa, maybe God is with you because you can do miracles. Okay, he had a shepherd's staff. God used it also in other miracles. And let's look at verse 20. What happens? So Moses is going to leave. He's going to go to Egypt with his family. So Moses took his wife and his sons and he had them ride on a donkey and he went back to the land of Egypt. And Moses took, what does it say Moses took? You guys tell me. Wait, whose staff? No, Moses' staff. What translation is that? Go back there. Can you go back? Yeah, Moses. Oh, the staff of, yeah, I'm being silly. The staff of God. When you have your stick, when you have your talent, when you have your challenge, when you have your character thing, when you have your upbringing, when you have your possession, when you have your bike, when you have your money, it's just your money. It's useful. A staff is useful. Shepherding is a good thing. But God says, whoa, whoa, whoa. It can be way, way bigger impact if it's my staff. The name change. I want a name change for my stuff. Do you want a name change? I want a name change for my challenges. Martha's challenges, God goes, no. These were my building blocks for influence for the kingdom. Martha's character, no. This is my character that I gave her so she can have eternal impact on the lives of thousands of people. Hello? Okay. God said, I'm going to open up opportunities for you, Martha. I studied to be an English teacher. I went to college. I got a degree. I taught high school for 2 years. But I knew God wanted to use it for something. So I moved to the city of Jena in the east part of Germany. And somebody came to me. I wasn't looking for it. And they said, I have a job for you. And I thought, they don't understand that I do ministry work. And we haven't started yet. But I have a job. To teach English. I thought, I'm not going to teach somebody's 13-year-old English. I didn't come all the way to Germany, put my whole life on hold, learn the German language so I can teach English. I just assumed it was, they go at the university. I go, oh, at the university? God used me to teach university students just one class a week, but it just got my foot in the door. At the university in Jena. I moved to Seville. We were able to do English club, even with professors, not because I had an English degree, but it does kind of help if you can kind of go, oh, I actually do have an English degree as a teacher, So God used my staff, my stick, which is a good stick, and he said, I can use it for much broader. Okay, number 2, real story number 2, the widow of Zarephath. The widow of Zarephath in 1 Kings 17. It's a season of drought. Drought means that there's no rain, so you don't have crops, so people are starving. And there's a woman who's a widow. She has no husband, and she has a son, and she realizes we have enough flour in a jar. I don't know how big the jar was, and oil. I have enough to make one meal of bread, pancakes, whatever, flatbread, flatbrot. I have enough, and then we will die, because basically that's it. The jar is empty. And the prophet comes to her, and it says, then the word of the Lord, verse 8, came to him, arise, go to Zarephath, which belongs to Sidon, and dwell there. Behold, I have commanded a widow there to feed you. I have provision for you. So he arose and went to Zarephath, and when he came to the gate of the city, behold, a widow was there gathering sticks. And he called to her and said, bring me a little water in a vessel that I may drink. And as she was going to bring it, he said, bring me a morsel of bread in your hand. And she said, as the Lord your God lives, I have nothing baked, only a handful of flour and a little oil in a jug. And now I am gathering a couple of sticks to make a fire, right? That I may go in and prepare it for myself and my son, that we may eat and die. I don't think she's being overly dramatic. I think she's just saying, you know what situation we're in? This is it. I don't have any more. So if I give it to you, I mean, we're one meal away from death, and now we're no meal away from death, you know. And Elijah said to her, do not fear. He sees her heart. She's fear. She's in fear, right? Go and do as you have said, but first make me a little cake and bring it to me, and then make something for you yourself and your son, for thus says the Lord, the God of Israel. So now God's going to give a prophecy. Now the Lord is going to give, through Elijah, a blessing on her. He says, the jar of flour, not spent. The jug of oil, not empty, until the day that the Lord sends rain. Rain meaning then it's not dry, right? And she went and did as Elijah said. What was in her hand? And it says the jar was never spent. What was in her hand? Sometimes you have something available to you, and you say, no, I'm not giving that up. I had an English degree, and I have a job, and I'm going to keep that job, because that's a sure thing. That is a sure thing. And some of you want to hold on to something, and God says, oh, it could be so much greater. It's a good thing. Nothing wrong with being an English teacher. It could be far greater in East Germany. It could be far greater in Sevilla, Spain. Teaching computer science professors English, but having opportunities to talk about the love of Christ. It could be far bigger than just that high school. But we are like, no, I have challenges. Oh, now I had challenges. I'm going to die. God doesn't prepare for me and my son. I'm bitter, and I'm going to die bitter. And God says, no, can you trust me with your challenges? Trust him with the little, and he will make it far greater. All right, third story, David, 1 Samuel 17. David is the youngest of 8 children. The prophet Samuel comes and has been told, there's a king in this town that I want you to anoint. And the other king is bad, Saul. We have a new king. You're going to anoint him and brings him to this town, and then brings him to this family. And he says to Jesse, the dad, could you have your sons come and pass by in front of me? So he brings 7 sons, and one after the other they go. And God keeps saying, that's not the one, that's not the one. He goes, I think he's like, I don't know if I heard from God. It's like, this is it? This is all your sons? He goes, oh no, but there's one, he's out with the sheep. How do you like to be the son, the 8th kid, that your dad doesn't really see that kind of potential in you? I mean, a king is a very huge thing. I will grant you, but even your dad does not see the potential in you. God sees it. He brings him, and then, so he's already been anointed, but he's not king yet. And after this, he's running back and forth. He's still tending the sheep, and the 3 oldest brothers are at war. And there's a war where instead of the 2 armies coming together and battling it out, sometimes they would send, okay, this one and this one will fight, and whatever happens without everyone dying, the rest will surrender, right? And then the others will be the conquerors. So it says, verse 24, all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him. This was Goliath, the big giant, and were much afraid. Now Eliab, his oldest brother, heard when he spoke to the men, the oldest brother of David. And Eliab's anger was kindled against David. He said, why have you come down? And with whom have you left those few sheep in the wilderness. Like, he doesn't even give him, credit for, but you are a shepherd and you're a good one. It's like, yeah, you just have a few sheep. Like, it's not that big of a job. I know your presumption and the evil of heart. You've come down to see the battle. You're just like, wow, we don't have any Netflix, so, whoa, watching the battle, yeah, boo-boo, his brother doesn't appreciate him, let's skip to verse 31. When the words that the Lord spoke were heard, they repeated them before Saul, the king, so the king sends for him. And David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him, meaning Goliath. Your servant will go and fight with this Philistine. Saul believes in him. No, Saul doesn't believe in him either. Saul says to David, you are not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for you are but a youth, and he has been a man of war since his youth. He is a seasoned soldier. Plus, he's huge. He's like 2.97 meters tall. Okay. I'm going to skip down. Verse 37. And David said, the Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine. And then Saul tries something else, put on my armor. Again, it's like, it's not a fit for me. Sometimes people want to help you. It makes sense, but God says, this doesn't make sense. I never trained you in armor. I trained you with a slingshot, maybe a knife, a sword. You're not trained for this. You're okay with what I train you with. What's in your hand is a good thing. What was in that lady's hand? Just a little bit of flour and oil. And God said, whoa, I'm going to multiply that. What was in Moses' hand? A staff. It was useful. It was good. And God said, it can be far greater. You're not going to be shepherding sheep anymore. You're going to go back to the people that are enslaved, and you're going to free them, and that will be a miracle working sign. And to David, he said, what's in your hand is a slingshot. I actually saw, you need to like YouTube, Google this thing. This can go 200 meters. It can leave you at like 90 kilometers an hour. By the time it's leaving the arm, it's already it's like flying. So these slingshots are not like, it's like serious, it's a serious weapon. But he knew what was in his hand. He had competencies. He'd already fought wild animals. You have competencies that God's given you. Just like Lara was talking about, she seems to be really good with kids. She knows Albanian. People misunderstood David, but God said, I have anointed you. God says, if you follow me with your yes and small experience, I say small experiences. I mean, I've never fought a bear. I don't think it's that small. But God says, yeah, that's a bear. I'm actually going to have you fight, and you're going to be over a kingdom. You've shown leadership over sheep, that you were responsible. When everybody else got to go to the party and you were back with the sheep and they're like going in front of the prophet Samuel, you waited until you were called. You're helping your dad take food to your brothers at the war zone. But you know your place. You've been anointed as a king, but that's not your job yet. You're still responsible and loyal and humble with the sheep. And God says, yeah, that's what I need. I need a king that's humble, but that has leadership ability. So if you follow your yes in small experiences, you follow God with your yes, he can use you with greater purpose in the future. There is no small calling, though, in your life. There's no small moments. There's no small challenges. 1 Samuel 16:7 is the scene before where Samuel, the prophet, is with David. And he also was a little confused about, what am I looking for? What is the secret sauce that I'll know this is the king? The Lord said to Samuel, do not look on his appearance or on the height of his stature, because I have rejected him, meaning another brother. For the Lord sees not as man sees. Man looks on the outward appearance. Oh, she's the one at kind of the unpopular table at high school. Oh, this is the one that's kind of a little bit different than everybody else in the class. Oh, this is the one that doesn't really know the answer when you say, what country are you from, or where did you grow up? This is the one that kind of was in a foster care situation where things were a little funky growing up. The Lord sees not as man sees. Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. What is the heart? There are no small yeses. What is in your hand, friend? Is it a practical resource? Is it the stick? Is it a little bit of something good? And God says, I can multiply it. Or is it disappointments with family? Or actually really cool skills that you have and God says you can conquer giants? Father, thank you that there are no small choices and we choose to follow you today. In Jesus' name, amen.